What's going on, everyone? Homework assignment 17. Today's objective, I can solve absolute value inequalities. So let's go right to it. So here's what we're going to see when we're dealing with these inequalities. So these are going to be compound inequalities. We're going to be able to use these absolute value inequalities in order to determine, or use these inequalities, better yet, in order to determine if we're going to have an and statement or an or statement. And here's the little trick that I use for it. So if we get to the point and your symbol is less than, then here's what I use. Less than, I'll say it is less than, watch what I'm doing. Less than tells us, or less than or equal to tells us that we are going to have an and statement. For greater, or greater than or equal to, I use great or. Yes, I'm aware, not how we spell greater, but that's what we're going to use, okay? So less than has and greater or equal to has greater. So less than or equal to or less than, and greater than or equal to is an or statement. Let's go to an example and let's see exactly what we mean. So we have the absolute value of x minus 2 is less than 4. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the same ideas as we did with the absolute value equations, and I'm going to break this down into two inequalities. So we're going to say that this will become x minus 2 is less than 4. And what's going to happen here is, because we are going to rewrite it, and we're going to make, remember, we're going to make one of these 4s positive and one negative. The second one, I'm going to write it as x minus 2 is greater than 4. Excuse me. We want to remember that, or greater than negative 4, I should say. We want to remember that because we are changing this sign, it's almost like we're treating it like dividing or multiplying by -1. So our inequality symbol, our inequality here is going to change directions. Okay, so if x minus 2 is less than 4, x minus 2 is greater than a -4. So we knew that this was less than, and we know that that means that this is going to be an and statement. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's actually do that here. Perform operations. +2. X is then going to be less than our 6. Add 2. Add 2. X is going to be greater than our -2. So we have our inequality, but what we want to remember is that this is, once again, we said an and statement. So we're going to graph this the same way we would graph our and statements. So here's my line. I know -2 is somewhere here. We know like 0 is like there, and let's say 6 is there. So let's go ahead. So x is greater than -2, so open circle. X is less than 6, and we know it's an and, which means it's going to be everything between these two. And there is our graph. All right, second example. So same inequality, but this time we have a greater than sign, and we know that that means that this is going to be an or statement to start. So let's go ahead and let's break it down. So we know it's going to be x minus 2, because remember we're dropping our inequality, is greater than 4, or x minus 2 is less than 4. Same idea here, less than -4, sorry. Same idea when we make one side positive, one side negative. So let's go ahead, let's add 2 to both sides. X is going to be greater than 6, or add 2 to both sides. X is going to be less than -2. All right, so same deal. Let's make our number line. We have a -2, 6, and as we stated before, 0 is like somewhere around here. So let's go x is greater than 6. So greater than 6 means an open circle pointing toward everything greater than 6. And x is less than -2, open circle toward everything less than -2. And there's our graph. Let's step it up a bit. All right, so remember, same idea as the equations. We have some operations to perform here. So let's say if I add 6 to both sides, gone there, we have 4 times the absolute value of x minus 8 is less than or equal to 14 plus 6 is 20. Divide both sides by 4. Remember, those 4's divide out. And we have the absolute value of x minus 8 is less than or equal to 5. All right, there's our inequality. Let's think about what this means for us. So this tells me that we have a less than, so this should be an and statement. So let's go ahead. So we have x minus 8 is less than or equal to 5, and x minus 8 is greater than or equal to a -5. All right, so let's solve. Add 8 to both sides. X is less than or equal to 13. Add 8 to both sides. Gone there. X is greater than or equal to -5 plus 8 is 3. And we said this is an and statement. So let's go ahead and get our number line. All right, so 3 could be somewhere over here. 13 is obviously to the right of 3. X is less than or equal to 13. So we know we are going to have a closed circle on 13 going in this direction. And x is greater than or equal to 3, which we know is going to be also a closed circle going in this direction. And because it's an and statement, we know that that means it's going to be everything that is in between these two. Last one. Let's go just for the fun of it. I'm going to make this one into a, it should work the same. Let's see. I'm going to make this one negative just to kind of show what happens. So I start off by being like this is greater than 18. We don't want to determine if it's going to be an and or an or statement just yet. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's start by simplifying this here, solving this here. Subtract 6 from both sides. I have -2 times the absolute value of 3 plus 3x is greater than 18 minus 6 is 12. All right. Now, when I divide -2 by both sides, remember what happens to my inequality. We get the absolute value of 3 plus 3x. Because I divided by a negative, remember what happens to my inequality, is less than -6. All right. And now we have something that we are going to identify here. Because it's less than now, it is going to be an and statement. So let's go ahead and let's break this down. So we have, let me actually shrink it down and move us up. Great. So we have 3 plus 3x is less than -6. And 3 plus 3x is greater than 6. All right, and we said it's a less than, so we know that this is an and statement. So let's evaluate. Subtract 3 from both sides. We have 3x is less than, not less than or equal to, less than -9. Divide by 3. We have x is less than -3. And 3 plus 3x is greater than 6, so subtract 3 from both sides. 3x is greater than 3. X is going to be greater than 1. So let's see what we can establish here. what our graph would look like? Well, let's think about it. X is less than -3 and X is greater than 1. Well, you probably won't see too many of these in this situation, but we cannot have a number that is less than 3 and greater than 1. So therefore, there must be no solution. Practice this, study these, repeat them if needed. I need you to understand where every step comes from. I'll see you all tomorrow.